Welcome back, Swipa gang. How you been? I ain't seen you in a while. You know, we took a week off after closing out the Denver Nuggets season, and we were just, you know what, let's just go ahead and reboot. Let's watch some basketball. Let's get some things done. Let's just get a reset. I think everybody needed a breath of fresh air. Whew, but we right back in it. Man, I just got done watching the Philadelphia 76ers lose in 7 to the Atlanta Hawks on June 20th, 2021. And boy, oh boy, Ben Simmons gotta go. Ben Simmons has to go. You couldn't even play your max contract player with under 2 minutes left in the game. And if you did, you had to make him a one-way player, meaning he couldn't touch the ball in the paint. He couldn't touch the ball in the perimeter. He couldn't run a dribble handoff. He couldn't shoot a mid-range. He couldn't get a layup. He couldn't get you a dunk because he knew as soon as he touched the rock, they was finna foul him. And I think Joel Embiid needs more for many reasons. Embiid, again, y'all, Embiid is playing on a torn meniscus. I don't understand. You know, that could have been really career-threatening for him to play on that, but played on torn meniscus, 41 minutes, 31 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, good game, 11 of 21, 2 of 5 from 3, 7 of 10. He was a -2 in the game that they lost by 7, man. Joel Embiid, man, he played well. He played a good game. Played 41 minutes, all things considering, man. You know, he was hurt too. I mean, you got to give it a round of applause for the man. Again, you know, for me, he was the second best player in the NBA this year. He had a terrible turnover at the end of the game that really cost him the game. But Joel tried to carry him all season, man. So I give him props for that. He missed a couple games this playoffs, comes back, tries to play. Here's the thing, man. It speaks more about the issues with the 76ers that during this playoffs, Seth Curry was probably their most consistent and best offensive player. Tobias Harris was in and out, nowhere to be seen some nights. Ben Simmons, it's Ben Simmons. He wasn't scoring. Ben Simmons tonight had 5 points, 8 rebounds, and 13 assists, 2 of 4 from the field, but he's not a threat at all. So he literally changes the complexion of the offense to where you can be more static around other people like Tobias Harris or Seth Curry or even Joel Embiid. So they really just need an infrastructural change. I know Doc Rivers came there, but again, y'all, I watched Doc Rivers for years now. I watched him against the Nuggets series. I mean, he's a good coach, great coach. You know, he's the top 6 coach, I think, in the NBA, but I don't know, man. Like, again, you know, you lose to the Atlanta Hawks. And here's my thing about the Atlanta Hawks. They're good, but they're young. Like, they haven't been there. They haven't been to the show. And they just beat a team that's been in the playoffs the last 3 seasons, basically, pretty consistently. The 76ers were the second best team in the East, or the first best team in the East throughout the year. And so the first seed just lost to the 5th seed Atlanta Hawks. You know, it's just not a good look. And again, I know Embiid was nicked up, but they were healthy. Everyone was available. I think when you're looking at other teams, the LA Lakers, they didn't have Anthony Davis healthy, and LeBron James was nicked up. The Denver Nuggets were missing Jamal Murray. They were missing Will Barton. They were missing P.J. Dozier the entire playoff. They were starting Facundo Campazzo and Austin Rivers. They got swept by a juggernaut in the Phoenix Suns. I think the Brooklyn Nets, we'll talk about it in a little bit, man. The Brooklyn Nets lost. They didn't have Kyrie Irving, and James Harden was 20% of himself with a torn hamstring, a grade 2 hamstring injury, which is like weeks worth of recovery, and he was just out there trying to give his team something. I don't understand, man. The 76ers, I think the core of this issue with this team is that if you're going to have Joel Embiid dominating on the inside, you need to have a perimeter threat at all times on the court. The reason Nikola Jokic works so well in the playoffs is because Jamal Murray is there. Because he takes away so much attention. And Jamal Murray is, you know, always is a top 5 player, especially top 5 guard in the playoffs every time he touches the court, just because of how he plays. I'm thinking the fact that LeBron James has Anthony Davis, that they can mirror and play off each other. Obviously, you got your Kobe and Shaq examples, your John Stockton and Karl Malone examples. By the way, Kevin Huerter was a vaccinated John Stockton tonight. That's how he played. He played like a vaccinated John Stockton. Kevin Huerter tonight. at 27 points in 40 minutes, 7 rebounds and 3 assists, 10 of 18 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point line, 5 of 7 from the free throw line. He was a +8 in the game. They won by 7. And Danilo Gallinari, man, great former Clipper, former Nugget, former New York Knick. 17 points, 6 of 13 off the bench, 3 of 7, 2 of 2, and a +8. And the bench really showed up. The bench was all in plus tonight. So even though the 76ers, I mean, they didn't play terrible, but there's just so many holes. And then Matisse Thybulle, you already know, I've talked about Matisse Thybulle so much on this channel. I think he's an excellent perimeter player. He just is, again, another Ben Simmons underdeveloped player, but he's not a facilitator, so you don't have to have him with the ball as much, and he doesn't cost near as much. But Matisse Thybulle had a terrible, terrible foul on Kevin Huerter at the end of the game. That really iced the game, put the game away on a three-pointer nonetheless. So he was trying, though. But Kevin Huerter has some great defensive players, and Ben Simmons made great defensive plays too. I just think that if the 76ers are going to be the 76ers that we know they should, maybe can be in the future, because you don't have Joel Embiid except for 50 to 60 games a year, you're going to need another perimeter player. Maybe a De'Aaron Fox. I don't know what the probability is of being able to get him. What's the package look like with Harrison Barnes and De'Aaron Fox? I mean, I know that's right now you're going to have to sell low on Ben Simmons, but you got to sell him. You can call the Denver Nuggets, see what they're going to say. You call the Miami Heat, see what you can get there. I mean, call somebody. I'm trying to think, man. The Knicks will probably take somebody. You're going to need a perimeter player if you're the 76ers. And I just think that for Joel Embiid to have crossed that superstar echelon, meaning he's in the superstar territory now with a handful of other players, you need to give him the best perimeter threat possible to make his chances the best in the East, which is a weak conference. And Atlanta is not a great team, but they just beat the number 1 seed in the East because of the deficiencies of the offensive side of the ball with Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle and others. So anyway, y'all, props to the Atlanta Hawks, man. Trae Young did not play well, but 21 and 10 tonight, but 5 of 23 from the field, 2 of 10 from the three-point line, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. He iced the game. John Collins, monster, 14 points, 16 rebounds, +7. Kevin Huerter, once again, a +8 on 27, 7 and 3. Clint Capella, man, he played great. Not great, but he played consistent defense, meaning he gave his best effort, caught his lobs, 13 points, 6 rebounds, a -2, and then Bogdanovic, I mean, he only had 4, 2, and 2 tonight, but he was really clutch at points in this series. So shout out to the Atlanta Hawks. Great job, Atlanta Hawks. You're moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals, which nobody thought you would, especially with those top 3 teams in the East, man. So great job, Atlanta Hawks. Try not to outsell. Try not to shut down Magic City tonight, Atlanta. All right. Bucks Nets. About this much room, say Budenholzer's job. About this much of Kevin Durant's foot saved that man's job. About this much of Kevin Durant's foot gave you one more year with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Jrue Holiday didn't play well. Giannis played extraordinary, just absolutely extraordinary. They won in overtime. And again, y'all, I am a big Giannis Antetokounmpo fan. I'm a big Jrue Holiday fan. He won the Swipa Cam Player of the Year award this year for on and off court contributions. But I have to say, man, it didn't look pretty. And the fact that the Nets were down Kyrie Irving, that they were down 80% of James Harden, and that they basically had Kevin Durant and friends with the Joe Harris, no Harris performance in the playoffs, the fact that they beat them by the skin of their teeth in the Game 7, they are lucky. They are lucky that the Atlanta Hawks just won that game, because they have the defense and they have the shooting to be able to stay with the Atlanta Hawks and beat the Atlanta Hawks. And Giannis Antetokounmpo can feast against John Collins. But John Collins is going to be an athletic player who's going to give him some business. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 40 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists on 15 of 24 from the field, 2 of 6 from the three-point line, 8 of 14 from the free throw line, with a +6. Chris Middleton was excellent. He missed a lot of shots, but he was key down the stretch. 23 points, 10 rebounds, 6 of 6, 9 of 26 from the field, 2 of 7 from the three-point line, 3 of 3 from the free throw line, a +3. And Jrue Holiday was terrible for most of the game, except when the last 3 minutes mattered the most. 13 points, 7 assists, or 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 of 23, 2 of 9. And Pat Connaughton off the bench played 23 minutes. The bench didn't really get no play. But again, y'all, Kevin Durant played 53 minutes and had 48 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, 17 of 36 from the field, 4 of 11 from the three-point line, 10 of 11 from the free throw line. He was a -4, and they lost by 4. James Harden was 5 of 17, 22, 9 and 9, 2 of 2 from the three-point line, 10 of 10 from the free throw line, and everybody else had 14, 10, and 17. So really the scoring was literally Kevin Durant. A little bit of James Harden free throws, and there was nobody else. So I think that it's a win for the small market. So the fact that Atlanta won tonight, that's a win for the small market. The fact that the Bucks won, win for the small market. The fact that Phoenix is dominating, albeit they played against an Anthony Davis-less Lakers team, but they handled their business in 6 games. Albeit they played against a Jamal Murray-less Denver Nuggets team, but they handled their business. And today, which we'll talk about in a minute, they go out and they play against the Los Angeles Clippers without Chris Paul. Once again, the Clippers are without Kawhi Leonard. And Devin Booker gets his first triple-double of his career. They win Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. So the Phoenix Suns, man, are looking great. But again, the Phoenix Suns, the Atlanta Hawks, and now with the Milwaukee Bucks, that's 3 small market teams that are making up the difference in the NBA right now, showing that the star power is there. The NBA needs to market the players, market the cities that are getting it done. James Jones just won Executive of the Year, and rightly so. Rightly so. The Chris Paul trade, the fact that they have organically gotten Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, the fact that they even got out and got Jay Crowder this year, they revitalized Cameron Payne. Monty Williams should have been Coach of the Year this year. I mean, just excellent across the board. So they are doing everything they're supposed to do. Small markets are winning right now, and that is to be celebrated. But I honestly just believe that the Milwaukee Bucks, once again, if the Nets were healthy, we would be in a different story right now. Because with when they were healthy, they beat Milwaukee by 49 points. And then it took Kyrie going down on a twisted ankle, and then again a 20% James Harden for it to go 7. So I think that Milwaukee handled their business. I have been saying this, and I know this is not super popular with some people, but it's just a fact. It's just a fact that Giannis Antetokounmpo gives me peak Scottie Pippen vibes because he's a great player, but he requires so much around him to be good, and his deficiencies are so loud. And he happened to have a good game. He happened to shoot decent from the free throw line this game. So, again, a part of this is my dream is to have Giannis coming to Denver, to playing with Nikola Jokic. I think that would be special. I think that would be, the elite of elite combos. But I'm happy for Giannis Antetokounmpo, for Chris Middleton. I'm super happy for Drew Holiday. I hope that they can really do something here in the Eastern Conference Finals, and it looks like they can make it through to the finals. So we'll see. Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns, though, y'all. The Phoenix Suns tonight went out and they beat the Clippers, once again without Kawhi Leonard and without Chris Paul. But the Phoenix Suns are pretty good. When people were giving Chris Paul that love this season, I was just kind of like, well, yeah, Chris Paul is great. But Devin Booker's really good. DeAndre Ayton is pretty good. Mikal Bridges is pretty good. Jay Crowder is a pretty good veteran. They're a pretty good team. Cameron Johnson's not bad. So, yeah, Chris Paul helped them. They wouldn't have been the number 2 seed without them, but yeah, Chris Paul made a big difference. He averaged a triple single in the first round and then went off against Monte Morris, Facundo Campazzo, and Austin Rivers for 25 and 10 in 4 games. So, but Devin Booker has been great. And Devin Booker tonight, in a win against the Los Angeles Clippers, had 44 minutes, had 40 points on 15 of 29 shooting and 3 of 7 from the three-point line and 7 of 7 from the free throw line, and 13 rebounds and 11 assists. And they were a +6 in the game. They won by 6. So Devin Booker literally did anything and everything you could have asked him to do with Chris Paul's absence and carried them to a Game 1 victory, and he likely will need to do it again. DeAndre Ayton had 20 and 9 tonight. Mikal Bridges had 14 points. Crowder had 13 points. Cameron Payne, 11 and 9 assists tonight. Cameron Johnson, 12 and 4 off the bench. Torrey Craig, 8 and 6 rebounds off of the bench. Paul George, welcome back, Paul George. Welcome back to 2014 Paul George version. 34 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, 10 of 26 from the field, 7 of 15 from the three-point line, 7 of 8 from the free throw line, and he was a +1 in his minutes. They won the starters' minutes. Reggie Jackson, 24, 6, and 4, looking like Colorado Springs Reggie Jackson. On 10 of 19 and 4, 12, was a +4 tonight. Nicholas Batum, 5, 10, and 3 tonight, was a +6. Terrence Mann, 9 and 4 and 1 tonight, was a +5. Marcus Morris was a -11, with 6 and 3. But the bench was a -14, -5, -11, -5. And that, my friends, tells the story, because the Phoenix Suns bench was a +14, +18, and a +9, and a -6. So the Phoenix Suns are a juggernaut. I think that the Phoenix Suns are probably the best team remaining in the playoffs. I think the Bucks have the best player in Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think that's pretty clear, but I think that the Phoenix Suns are just the overall best team. They're the most complete starting five. When Jamal Murray went down, and it was no longer Murray, and then Barton went down, no longer Murray, Barton, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic, I think that the Phoenix Suns had the most complete starting five in the NBA. I think that Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, DeAndre Ayton, I think that is perfect. Defensively, shooting, switchability, leadership, just excellent. I love the way their team is constructed. So shout out to James Jones, shout out to Monty Williams. Just excellent job all around. So I hope the Phoenix Suns can close that series. All right, Utah Jazz, man. Utah Jazz lose to the Clippers in 6 without Kawhi Leonard and lost 4 straight games. Rudy Gobert played the most minutes. I think he was a minus on the court, recorded 0 blocks, I think twice in a row. And Rudy has a 5-year, $205 million contract, just won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. But I think people are hard on Rudy, but I think the real issue with the Jazz is they have no perimeter defense. Donovan Mitchell may give good effort, but he's 6'1". Joe Ingles is not a good perimeter defender. Conley is old, no longer a good perimeter defender. And then Bogey is not a good perimeter defender. So you have Royce O'Neal, but Royce O'Neal is a good defender, but he's also not like an elite defender. So they don't really have elite defenders. And then if you're depending on Royce O'Neal, who got cooked by Jamal Murray last year, who got cooked this year by Paul George and Kawhi Leonard when he was playing. So, at what point, from an infrastructural standpoint with Quinn Snyder, I like what they have, but they are missing perimeter defense. And I don't know. Here's the thing, y'all. The Phoenix Suns are likely going to still be this good next year. The Nuggets are going to be healthy again, and they have a better team than the Utah Jazz. So what are the Utah Jazz going to do? Because Rudy Gobert does not guard well against Jokic and Embiid. And then you're going to have to really step up that perimeter defense. So I think the Jazz have some really tough decisions to make. I think they need to get some perimeter defense. Again, for them to be the number 1 seed. But once again, let me also say Donovan Mitchell was not 100%. Mike Conley was not 100%. I get it. But the fact of the matter is the Clippers are missing 2 players. They're missing 1 player. They missed one superstar player. But for them to lose 4 straight games is quite telling. So anyway, y'all. It's been a crazy NBA playoff series. I know that we have been missing 9 All-Stars, which is the most ever in NBA history in the playoffs. And that's not including like Jamal Murray, which, in the playoffs, 10 All-Stars, 10 elite players in the playoffs. So this has really affected things a lot. So, this is not an asterisk year, but it's just a war of attrition. Who is going to make it all the way through? But, man, if I had to pick, right now I'd like to see that Phoenix and Bucks finals in 2 small markets, and what a series that would be. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. I'm super excited to see the continuation of the Clippers-Suns series. I'm super excited to see the Hawks-Bucks series. Hey, y'all, let's get it done, y'all. Hey, y'all, Swipa Cam, we out. We'll be back tomorrow, another episode.